Hey, we're inside of a tunnel because I wanted to show you guys what I'm talking about here. This is Iridian 3D for the Game Boy Advance. Well, it's basically a space shooting game, not unlike Star Fox or R-Type, and it does show that the Game Boy Advance can do some cool 3D stuff. Definitely the environments around the ship as they're scaling towards you and you're flying into them look very cool, but the ships themselves and all of the enemy ships look very pasted on and two-dimensional. Because you've got so many things attacking you at the same time and there's nowhere to go, it does up the difficulty level and it makes the game very challenging, but it also feels a little frustrating and a little cheap. I was impressed by the technology that's a part of this game, but I was definitely let down by the gameplay. So I'm gonna give Iridian 3D a 6 out of 10. I think you should check this game out to see what the Game Boy Advance is capable of, but I definitely wouldn't recommend buying it.
Reviews on the Run is brought to you by Microplay.
Hey, we found this beautiful park and this train because we want to talk to you guys about Train Simulator from Microsoft for the PC.
How convenient getting a train.
Yeah, we had that specially built and prepared for this shot.
Yes, well, let's talk about Train Simulator then. Basically, all you do is you get into the train.
Yes.
You drive the train.
Yeah.
And then you sit there and watch.
You've got all of the basic bells and whistles, no pun intended, that you would find in a train. You've got to figure out your braking and your reversers and all the buttons and gadgets.
That's the end of the gameplay.
Well,
you go,
no,
you stop.
There's a couple of other things that they've added to the thing. Like
sometimes you can turn right or turn left.
Yeah, you get to deal with keeping a tight schedule, and that can be very frantic because the track changes from time to time.
Frantic wouldn't be a word I would use to describe Train Simulator.
One of the things that I really liked about Train Simulator was the fact that you could go back in time and ride the Orient Express, and you'd be traveling around, and you pass these 1920s cars and say, hey, wake up, man.
Everything in the game is completely
real,
down to the alerter button.
You're going to know everything about electric, diesel, and steam engine trains. And the alerter button is actually built into these trains, and it's illegal to disarm it in real-life trains. But in the video game and in the real world, the alerter button is for waking you up if you fall asleep while running your train.
It's not a game that falls short in what it is supposed to be. It hits all those points. But for me to recommend to you to go out and have fun buying this, I can't do it, and I have to give it a 3.
I'm going to give it a few more mercy points than that because you're right, it does hit all of those marks. I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10.
CGW Magazine gave it a 4, which translates to an 8 on our scale.
Okay, let's talk about Extermination, which is a survival horror meets Metal Gear Solid game for the PlayStation 2.
Well, I mean, let's say what it is. I mean, it's a Metal Gear Solid ripoff.
Sure.
All the way down to the bad voice acting. The controls are a little difficult to get used to, as in Metal Gear Solid, but you need to get used to them. The graphics are really nice, I thought. The missions are different. You're not just doing the same thing. My biggest problem with it was it seemed there was just not enough action.
I think what they've done here is mostly clever. I think that mixing these two very popular genres into one game is the right idea. And to be honest, I quite like this game, but it definitely has its flaws. But these guys did a pretty good job of creating atmosphere and mood, and there is a sort of sense of encroaching claustrophobia. I mean, everywhere that your character goes, it does feel like aliens are going to pop up and rip them to shreds. It does give you that sense of dread, but it doesn't give you the sort of polished pace that you get out of Metal Gear Solid.
It doesn't give you that Resident Evil dread, and it doesn't give you the action of Metal Gear Solid, and it doesn't give you the graphics. It's like it tries to be a lot of different things, and it does it good, but not really, really good. Bottom line for me was that it was just a little bit too frustrating to play. I found it a little bit too tedious and a little bit too frustrating.
No, if you're a fan of Metal Gear Solid or Resident Evil and you're not able to play the sequels to those games on your PlayStation 2 yet, I think Extermination's sort of going to fill that void quite well. And I was surprised how much I enjoyed it. I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10.
It's a little above average, but it didn't blow me away. I give it a 6.
UGM gave the game a 5.5. Well, let's move on then to another PlayStation 2 game, kind of in the same vein. It's called Silent Scope 2.
I love this game, and the greatest thing about it is they allow you to tweak everything in the game, including the number of lives per game.
Right.
Including you can now put it on an infinite continues, which is what the first game needed.
Yeah.
But you can even go in and change the size of your scope and the speed in which you want it to scroll.
My favorite stuff in the game were the X-ray scopes that you get.
Yeah, X-ray, you see skeletons.
I thought that was very cool.
So you can see people through houses and pick them off.
I like the heat signature scope that you get when you're out in the Arctic sort of environments, the snow levels.
You get on a snowmobile,
yeah,
and there's guys on skis who you can fight. It was right out of James Bond.
Yeah. Now, the big difference with this game, as opposed to last year's game, it's a two-player game this time. You're actually playing with a computer-controlled sniper if you're playing in one-player mode, who is always there taking shots along with you. But if you link up two PlayStations or you play in split screen, you can actually play with a buddy, and I think that's kind of cool.
Or you can choose which player you want in the beginning, too. So even if you finish the game all the way through, you can go back, play it again.
I also enjoyed the duel mode, which is very, very tough, where both of those snipers pitted against each other, and if you're playing against a computer, he's a crack shot, and it's very hard to be precise and aim and get that guy every time. I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10.
I give it an 8.5. I had a lot of fun with it. It's simple.
EGM's average score was 6. Let's talk about a completely different kind of game. This is Floygan Brothers for the Sega Dreamcast.
It's a bunch of mini games, really. That's what this game boils down to, is you have to use your brain and try to figure out how to get into certain areas or how to diffuse certain situations or how to help out your big, dumb brother.
But the basic concept of the game is that Heugel, who's the big dummy, you play the manipulative young little guy who is constantly running around, and you have to sort of manipulate Heugel to do things to you or for you so that you can progress through the games. This game relies so much on the fact that you're going to enjoy the interaction between these two characters, but I hated the big sort of mice and men kind of influence. I hated the characters. I didn't like them at all.
It's a cartoon.
Two stupid brothers in this junkyard.
Good voiceover, though.
No, I hated the whole thing. I feel bad because I like visual concepts, but I don't like their game. I really hated Floygan Brothers.
You hated it?
3.5 out of 10. I'm giving it mercy points because it's unique.
To me, it's like an interactive cartoon. I give it a 7.5.
A 1.5 from EGM.
I cannot believe you gave Train Simulator a higher score than Floygan Brothers.
Train Simulator hit its mark.
Ridiculous. I'm out of here.
7.5 you're going to give this game. Where are you going, by the way?
What's that sound?
It's a trip. Run, man! Run! Run!
Whoa!
Here's a recap on our reviews, including scores from Electronic Gaming Monthly and Computer Gaming World. Visit our website at www.electplay.com, or if you're mobile, wap.electplay.com.
Well, that's the end of the show. Thanks for watching.
We'll see you next time on the Electric Playground.
Production assistance for Electric Playground is provided by Microplay. You can purchase any of the games featured in Electric Playground at a Microplay location near you. And by Hip Gear Accessories, available at all Walmart, Toys R Us, Electronics Boutique, and other video game retailers.
That's kind of like the gameplay a little bit, isn't it? I mean,
well, you know, Train Simulator is you get to drive a train.
Yes. And I'm sure as the engineer of this... Oh, pretend you're a mountain lion. I'm going to be a grizzly bear. Ready?
Okay. Okay.
They're not scared. All right. Okay, you ready?
Sit tight.
Okay.